back to another episode. Today I have Elite here. Elite, say what's up.
Hey, what up?
And today I wanted to talk tech. And Elite, do you have something on your mind? Because recently they have released images, specs, and some gameplay of the Valve Steam Deck. And Elite, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do actually. First of all, let's start with the name. Okay, I think that it's an incredibly great name, but let's stop calling it the Steam Deck by Valve because I always think of Valve as the Left 4 Dead software company that makes games. I never thought of them as making components. So it's kind of weird to think of any Valve doing anything other than game software. So I'm going to refer to it from this point on as just a Steam Deck. I think that's what people are going to run with it. Nobody called it the Nintendo Game Boy. It was just a Game Boy. So a couple things is I've seen some videos. I watched one video over on Linus Tech, and they were talking about it. And then I watched a couple other videos on YouTube about it. I think let's talk a little bit about how it looks, how it runs, and just kind of from what I've seen. First thing I think is going to be an issue with it. It looks incredibly big. It looks really big.
Yeah, it's very big. And I think what helps make it big is the touchpad. And it has I believe two, but are you a fan of the touchpad? Do you like that compared to like a
Um,
Nintendo Switch?
well, from what I read and what I saw in the video, I think it's actually a really neat idea because what the touchpad is doing is it's making it so you can use a mouse, like mouse driven games. And so I think that's kind of cool that they have that feature. I don't know if you needed two of them. I read somewhere that the weight of this is 1.5 pounds, 1.7 pounds, which is twice the weight of a Nintendo Switch. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be heavy. 7-inch screen, 720p, decent graphics for a 7-inch screen. The other thing that I thought was pretty cool about it, though, is it has a built-in gyro. So
Yes.
you should be able to move. If you move with it, it will move the screen, which is kind of cool. They have a chip. The chipset they're using in it is proprietary just to the Valve. It's called they're calling it an AMD Zen 2, and it's a 4-core, 8-thread chip. So it should be decent. It's putting out about 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz. So it should run well. Especially what they're seeing there. It's like I said, 7-inch screen. The resolution is 1280 by 800. So, we're looking in that. A funny thing that I was kind of surprised with, they put a 3.5-inch jack on it. So they put a regular headphone jack. So you can use a USB-C, Bluetooth, or a standard headphone jack. It has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It also has the feature that I thought was kind of neat in one of the videos I saw, is you can dock it and use it as a gaming PC on a full-size monitor and keyboard. So you actually can use it as a gaming PC.
Yeah, and I did see that Valve will plan to release a dock soon. The current, you know, they have three, types of Steam Decks you want to buy, either the standard, basic, the basic, a standard, and then a deluxe version. None of them come with a dock compared to a Nintendo Switch, but they said they did plan on selling a dock if you want to connect to a TV. And I believe I heard rumors that you can use a third party dock. It doesn't have to be Valve's proprietary dock.
That's exactly what I saw. As a third-party dock will work. And the nice thing about it, too, is a third-party USB multi-connector will work. So you can turn that one USB-C into 5 just by using a universal. The other thing that was kind of interesting that I think might be an issue is you brought it up. You said basic, better, best, however you want to call it,
Mhm.
whatever. $399 for only 64 gigabytes of memory.
Yeah.
That seems pretty pricey to me. The most you can get at $650 is 512. So you're not running Modern Warfare on this bad boy.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now the only thing I can think of is maybe they have a way of compression that they are compressing it differently and unwrapping it differently because it's running off of Linux. And I'm
Mhm.
not super familiar with Linux. But the one thing I did like is it has an SD card slot that will hold up to 1 terabyte. So you could put external 1 terabyte in, but then again, to go out buy that SD of 1 terabyte, those are pretty expensive for a tear still. You can still get a 500 GB, fairly inexpensive in an SD card, but a 1 terabyte, you're still kind of paying a pretty good penny for that. And I think for $650, you should have a little bit more memory than 512. What's your thoughts on that, Brunner?
Well, let me add first. Do you have the list of the full specs? Because you brought up
I
price
do.
point.
I'm sitting.
Can you
Yeah,
list the
I'm
full
sitting.
specs?
Yeah, so we're gonna start off with the AMD Zen 2. It's a 4-core, 8-thread, like I said, 2.4 gig to 3.5. An AMD, I assume they're using for that chipset. The AMD RDNA is
Mhm.
probably going to be the bigger. The GPU clock speed is 1 to 1.6 gigahertz. That reminded me of something else too I want to talk about. The RAM in it is actually pretty impressive. The RAM in it is 16 gigs of DDR5. So it's pretty fast, especially for a small machine. As I said, you can get 64. It's weird. I've never heard of this before. 64 gigabytes of eMMC,
Mhm.
um, and then a 256 gigabyte hard drive of SSD and a 512 SSD. So that makes me think that 64 might be a mechanical drive, but
Yeah.
I don't know why they would use anything mechanical in a portable device. I could be wrong about that. I have to do some more look up on what that is. Resolution, like I said, is 1280 by 800. The refresh rate is only 60 hertz, but I don't think that's really going to be a factor when you're talking about a 7-inch screen.
Yeah.
Um, already kind of covered the audio connections, the connectivity. It does have Bluetooth. It does have Wi-Fi capability. It has a 40-watt-hour battery. Now, what I saw for specs in one of the videos I saw, that will last you 2 hours of using it at high play
Mhm.
to 8 hours if you're just like internet streaming.
Mhm.
And I was like, 2 hours is not long enough. I know if I get in a car or I'm on a long ride and I want to bring a gaming system, one, this has no cloud. You cannot hook this up to a 5G. It
Yeah,
doesn't have
correct.
5G capability. So you're kind of stuck in sitting in your house using it. And I don't know about you. If I'm in my house, I'd rather use my 70-inch TV and play my PlayStation or play my Xbox or
Mhm.
go over to my gaming rig and play on my monitor. So I can't see using it for that purpose.
So, I'm not big into tech. I don't know a lot, about the components that you just listed, and maybe the people listening to this also don't know much. But for all the components you just listed for a $399 price point, is that pretty good?
It is pretty good with the exception of the the storage, 64 gigs. I mean that's the only part. I mean, think about it. My Android phone has 3 times that amount of storage, 4 times that amount of storage. So it to me when I sit and think about it is 64 gigs is so 15 years ago thinking that was big.
Yes.
Um it it just to me is yeah, it's a great price point. Now, if it was me and I was going to say to you, "Hey Bruner, you should buy this." I think for me what I would say to you is Brunner, go out and buy this, then go to Newegg or go out there to, one of the many websites that I use, Monoprice, whatever the case, and I would go out and buy a 512 GB SD card and stick it right in there. And
All
now
right,
you're
I
looking
mean,
at probably around $400, about $500 total.
if I told you, hey, I have this PC, and then I gave you the same components as, as the Steam Deck, would you say that's a pretty good PC?
Yeah, it's probably a decent rig, entry level rig. Some of those components look pretty friggin' awesome, and then some of them are kind of like, okay, you know. Like I said, I really don't know this whole Zen 2. I've never heard of that processor, but it is proprietary to this. Supposedly, from what I've seen and what I've read, is you're going to be able to do everything on this deck like you can do on your computer. So you're going to be able to adjust and have certain mods. You're going to be able to have change, ratios, et cetera, so forth, and make it very personalized, just like you are on your PC. That's pretty super sexy. I think for the price point, am I going to run out and buy one? I don't know. I don't know. If Valve wants to send me one, I'll gladly take it. Check it out. But the reality is, I don't know if I'm going to be like run out the first day and buy one. I might probably watch some videos of reliable sources and see what they think when they're actually touching them and holding them. I still think the unit looks in general big. It just looks big to me, like you're holding a large iPad, but it's thick. So I have to kind of sit and see what I think about it when it comes out. But it does look kind of impressive, I think, for what it is. You know, the problem with it is anytime you talk about handhelds and you sit and you go through the history of handhelds, they all have issues. It is what it is.
Like you said before, personally, I'm not going to run out and buy this. I will also wait for something or someone, to like review it. And, my biggest concern with this is the Joy Cons and the triggers, because, Joy Cons are like the most breakable thing on like a controller. That's always the first thing to go. It's either button
Mm.
wear or, when you drop it, like, it's most likely going to hit the Joy-Con. And especially on a portable device, when the things are sticking out, like it's going to break. And for the listeners who might not know this, Sony and Nintendo are currently in a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit, because like the claim is that they are knowingly selling defective products in their Joy Cons, and they're harming the consumer, ripping off the consumer.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm just worried, like, because Valve, they created, I would say 3-4 years ago, they created like their own controller for like PC users, for PC users who like to use a controller, who don't like an Xbox or PlayStation, they want an alternative. And it was pretty good. It didn't get huge success, and then Valve just, closed the book on it. And like, if I get this, my biggest concern is, dropping it and damaging it, and then a Joy-Con gets broken, and then it's like, well, how much is a Joy-Con going to be? Does it even come apart? Do you know that? Like a
I
Nintendo
don't know,
Switch?
and that's a good question because that was kind of one of the things I wonder because I forgot to mention too. It has programmable buttons like a Elite controller on the bottom, so
Mhm.
you can have programmable buttons. So like when you're playing your COD or whatever, and I agree with you. That's kind of one of the things. Like my Elite controller, those paddles on the bottom used to fall off all the darn time, and I wonder they just wear out. And so I wonder what the availability is and how easy it is to be able to crack that bad boy open and replace things. Um, because I agree with you. I have to just I think I guess I'm I give it out of a 5, I'm gonna give it probably a hard 2.5. I think it's a really neat idea. You could do everything you can do with a computer on it. So literally, like they were saying, that you could use it for web browsing and everything. But I guess at that point, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, I already have a laptop that does that, and I have a better battery life and more power on my laptop than I would on that.
So, uh, another concern I have is the launch. Like, is it going to be another Microsoft launch, like a Red Ring of Death type of thing? And if, like, a lot of people forget was when the Nintendo Switch first came out, it had a rough launch too. Like, this, like the system, like there was a problem with the system, like the screens would freeze, Joy Cons wouldn't working, like people would buy it out of the box and the Joy Cons wouldn't work. It would say it's connected, but it's not working. And like, and this is when like, people would flood the stores and go get them and like a Black Friday type thing. And then like they wouldn't work. And then it's like, well, can I, get an exchange? Well, it's like, well, we sold out because, people are buying this thing.
I think you're kind of the main difference when I think about that is you bring up a very valid point. And I think the difference, though, is when you have like a Microsoft or you have a Nintendo or even Sony had some issues with the original PS3s. Um, these people are known in the console world. That's kind of what they do. You've got me a little concerned now because I totally forgot about the Valve controller. And they basically were in and out, like they put their toe in the water and then they basically said, okay, I'm not swimming now. And so now my thought process is, what if this thing kind of comes out of the chute and it has issues? Are they just going to cut bait and say it's not worth it? What is their, what is their whole plan with it? Do they have like a plan to say, hey, we're going to get behind this? You know that if you had a Switch, Nintendo's not going anywhere. Nintendo's going to back that product because you've had 7 consoles from them already. You know what I'm saying? And so when I sit and think about that, that's a really good point you bring up. And again, I don't know. I don't know. I think we have to wait and see them get in the hands. Unfortunately, what happens, and this is kind of my issue, I saw something the other day, and speaking along tech world, this is just kind of my issue with tech in general, is these companies are going to push out. Let's say they send out. We'll give a fair number, say 250. They're going to send 250 of these things out to influencers, and the influencer gets it for dead dog free. They're going to get the best one. They're going to they're going to get the whole 512 one, et cetera, so forth. Didn't pay a dime, so now they feel kind of a little bit obligated to be like, oh yeah, it's great, it's great, it's great. What I find is very few of those influencers are honest. And I think they should really stop doing that practice. I think that have some skin in the game. Go out and buy your own and see how it kind of works. Because to me, it's very interesting when I see these people. A lot of them will start talking and they really don't even know what they're talking about. They're basically like, oh yeah, it's got pretty colors, it's got RGB. They'll use hot words. Oh, it's got X amount of gigahertz. Well, I can read off a sheet.
Yeah, or sometimes they'll just have their editor post the sheet on the YouTube video because they don't know what they're talking about. So they'll tell the editor, yeah, post the specs. So I'm gonna switch gears real quick and go back to the Steam Deck. And I'm thinking in this current world of people who sit down and play on a either PC or sit down on a couch or sit down on a chair to play video games. Uh, will this fit in? Because the age of portable gaming has kind of ended because the only portable thing out there is a Nintendo Switch. And back in the day, I was pretty big into portable gaming. I had it. I had the first DS when it came out. Loved the hell out of it. and then I got me a PSP for the audio listeners. I'm holding my old PSP, a God of War Edition one. I took this thing everywhere, and then and then I would alternate between this, and the DS. Got the 3DS, and then I was so, I loved the PSP, and then when they announced the PS Vita, I got that. I was so happy. PS Vita came out because they're like, yeah, it's the PSP, but a little bigger with the touch screen, and PlayStation exclusive games, new ones. So I'm like, yes. And then like it died out. Like Sony just kind of gave up on it.
Do you know why the PSP and the PS Vita died out, right?
Why is that?
I don't think that was Sony's market. I think that really what it comes down to is, think about this. You got a PSP, and I think that really what it hits is the sweet spot is when you talk about games like that. The Switch was massively popular during the pandemic. You couldn't find one
Mhm.
because kids were at home. I think really portables is, we're too old for portables
Mhm.
because now we're the ones driving the car. We're not sitting in the back seat.
Mhm.
So you were taking that thing in your backpack everywhere because it kept you entertained in the car. And Sony got out of that because they just didn't sell games. You don't want to play God of War on a 5-inch screen. You want to play God of War on a 50-inch screen.
But that was why I loved the PSP, because Sony, they have, not Sony, Nintendo has their Mario, and it's very family friendly and very friendly games. When I was on the PSP, I was playing Midnight Club, LA. I was playing God of War. I was playing Grand Theft Auto. I was taking it on the go, and I'm like, this is the best thing because, yeah, like you said, it was for backseat drivers. And I took this. We always took this on road trips, and it saved the road trip because it's like, oh, I'm taking basically the console with me, and then yeah, because that's the only appeal that Nintendo has is Mario. That's why they're so profitable. It's just Mario, and they do a really good job with their games. They take their time with it. Like the Mario Kart series. They've always been really good games because they take their time with it.
I always feel with Nintendo is, it's kind of funny you bring that up. Like today, me and my daughter were going somewhere and we were talking in the car, and she was like, "Hey, I really enjoyed playing Mario Kart on the Wii as a family." And I was like, "Yeah, it was pretty cool." And we were talking. I think you hit the nail on the head. Is Nintendo, to me, Nintendo is nostalgia. To me, Nintendo is, you have this, it's like going home. You know that Mario's there, Link's there, that, Princess Toadstool's there,
Mhm.
Donkey Kong's there, all your little friends are there, Bowser and everybody. And so, like, I think three of the greatest games probably ever made in the past 20 years: Mario Kart, Smash Bros. I mean, that's another amazing game, you know. And then the new version of Zelda that they put on the Switch, I think
Mhm.
was pretty cool. So, but it's a special niche of people that want to play those. It's either younger kids just getting into gaming, because you still feel like the graphics are really good, but I still feel like I'm playing an 8-bit game, if that makes any sense. It's not complex. Like, you're sitting in your little cart and you're driving around. Well, we've been doing that for 30 years. It's just better graphics. It's not like you're playing, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, Ghost of Tsushima. Totally different playing experience, but that's not Nintendo's niche. That's not where they are. And I think Nintendo is the only people that can pull off the portables, because think about Nintendo's market. There's not an 8 to 12-year-old kid who does not own a Nintendo. That's their market. And I don't know about the Steam. Like you said, I'm not sitting on my couch playing on a Steam Deck, because I'll pull up my laptop and play on my laptop.
So, you mentioned before, playing on the Wii, which I played. I love the Wii. I think the Wii was one of Nintendo's um, greatest consoles because not only did it, was like, had motion controls and all the exclusives like the Wii Sports, and the Mario Karts and the Smash Brothers, but you could play games from the previous console before it, the GameCube, and the GameCube I loved so much. And then they're like, yeah, just pop that little tiny disc right in, and then not only that, it came with, ports at the top to plug in GameCube controllers. I'm like, this is the best thing because a lot of problems is like when people went from original Xbox to Xbox 360, and then they're like, well, I have this huge, massive Xbox, original Xbox One or whatever, and I can't even put it in my 360. And then, the same thing happened with the 360 to the Xbox One came out in 2013. It's like, you know, huge collection of 360 games before backwards compatibility came out. And, it's like I can't even play that. But me and my brother, like, we wouldn't even stress, would be like we wouldn't even want the next game because we'd still be playing, GameCube games, and like sometimes they were on sale because nobody's got the GameCube anymore. So it's like, yeah, you pick up, a really good GameCube game for like almost for half off, and and you can play it on the Wii.
Absolutely. So we did when we got our Wii. I had to make a correction. I was wrong. My son's first console was a Wii. He corrected me. Um, and we used to go to GameStop and buy used GameCube games for like $3. And so we had this huge collection of games. And then the other thing that we did that I thought was incredible is they used to have the Nintendo store.
Mhm.
And you'd be able to go in there and buy the original 8-bit game. Like I bought Castlevania, I bought Punch Out, I bought the first two Mario Brothers, and they were like $7 for the digital copy of this game. And then you downloaded it to your Wii and you could play them. And it was kind of like replaying my whole childhood. It was great. The Wii console, I still have mine, and we were just talking about it today. I think I'm hooking it up this week because the kids want to play it. And I think my sensor bar broke. I might have to go get a sensor bar, but it literally is, I think, one of the greatest consoles ever. And I'm a Sony guy, so but I do really think that that console. But again, I think they're the only people that can pull off a personal handheld. That's just my opinion. I don't think the Steam Deck is going to be a big winner. I think it's going to be a situation that, because you got to think about, guys. First of all, the way I look at gaming, and this is the way I look at tech, and this is the way I look at this whole situation, is you got the casual people that are gamers. That's your Nintendo world. Then you have the people that are kind of a little bit more into it. Now they're looking in the Sony or the Xbox consoles. And then you start to get your hardcore gamers. You're a hardcore gamer if you're playing on PCs. You're not a guy who's just a casual person because you just paid, upwards of anywhere from 2,500 to $5,000 for your rig and your monitor and everything. You've got invested time into this. That's the person they're trying to market to. And that person isn't going to give, no, I'm not giving up my 50-inch monitors and 3 monitors going on. And I mean, you got to see some of these. I saw this system that you sit inside and you hook up your computer to it and it has monitors. It's like $20,000. That's like the dream for most gamers in their house. Going to a 7-inch screen isn't that dream.
So going back to the whole Wii point, and I was, I'm like, you know what? Nintendo hit it out of the park with the Wii, and the Switch is coming out. Another portable game. I mean, another portable console. And I'm like, they made the DSs, like the DSs, they fell out at like once they made the 2DS, which was an idiotic move. But I'm like, you know what? Like the Switch looks interesting, and the whole like like they brought back the motion from the Wii, so with the Joy Cons, and so I'm like, I'm hooked. So I went out and I bought one,
Lucky
and
you.
having it, I'm like, it was fun because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which I've been playing Mario Kart since the N64. I played it on the N64, and then I played it on the GameCube, and I played it on the Wii. I played it on the DS. So I'm like, and then same thing with Smash Brothers. Played on the N64, played on the GameCube, played on the Wii. So I'm like, these games, are gonna be on that console. Like, that was the whole reason I bought that. That was the whole reason I bought the Switch. Because I'm
I
not
remember
a
when you got the
big,
Switch.
yeah. Because I'm not a big Metroid fan, and then they still haven't released Metroid. I'm an F Zero fan, and they haven't released an F Zero game in a long time. I'm a Star Fox fan. They released a remastered to it on the DS, on the 3DS. But I bought a Nintendo Switch for the for Mario, for basically Mario. And when the Switch came out, I was very worried because I saw this YouTube video of this guy. I think his name's Kroby Cat or Krobe Cat. And what he does is, like, whenever there's like a big launch of like a certain game or console, like he'll compile, an edit of people like talking about it, praising it, and then when the thing comes out and it's, you know, a garbage fire, like he'll post videos of people, recording of like their experience. And like there was one, and I'm still scared of to this day, is the dock. My biggest issue with the Nintendo Switch was the dock, because I literally saw a video of a guy. He took it out. He's like, I've had this thing for a week. He's like, kept it at home, like never took it outside, but he would always remove it from the dock, and it had scratches on it. And because every time you take it out, it would hit the screen and make a scratch. So I was like, so that's what scared me. And what I've seen from Valve's Steam Deck is that they're not going to have one where, the deck is in like a close quarters.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm, excited for the Steam Deck. And another thing too is they made this announcement, a couple days right after Nintendo Switch, makes an announcement saying they're going to make one with an OLED screen. They're not going to fix anything in internals. They're not going to upgrade it. It's just an OLED screen with the same resolution. Just the blacks are going to be darker, and maybe the colors are going to be
So
brighter.
you own one. So let me ask you a question. To the interior, how does the Switch run? Do you think they needed to change anything? Is it fast? Does it look good?
I mean, it's fast. I mean, I don't know because I play, Nintendo games, and like Nintendo games are built for that system. I don't play any third party games, because if I'm going to play a third party game that's on the Nintendo Switch or on the Xbox or PlayStation, I'm going to play them on the PlayStation or Xbox. I'm like, what's the point of
Exactly.
owning, like, because I can't buy Mario on the Xbox or on the PlayStation.
Exactly. And I guess that's my point. That's my point is when you look at it, when I go to look at Nintendo, I'm looking at Nintendo products, and I'm only going to buy Nintendo games there because we know, everybody knows that Nintendo doesn't make the best console. That's They haven't made the best console since the NES N64. I think they lost that to PS1. I think was better than an N64. So we know that's not going to be their bread and butter. You're going back, like I said, you're going back to go home. You're going back to play Smash Bros. You're going back to play, and as long as those games run fine and they put an OLED in and they charge $25 more or $50 more, I'm okay with that. Because the nice thing about a Nintendo is that it runs the way it's supposed to run with their games. It's not going to have glitches and just problems. The the Steam Deck, I assume it's in the name. You're relying on going on Steam to buy your games, or maybe you're going to Microsoft Game Pass to buy your games. But Steam, to me, is kind of like the Wild West. You have people that are just built a game and just throwing it out there, and you got to be really careful sometimes of what you're getting. You know, buyer beware. And again, that's kind of brings up my whole discussion earlier is the people that play PC games are the hardcorest. And so they're kind of okay with that because they know shit. If stuff goes bad, then they're just going to be like, okay, I'll just refix this, pop, 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 pop. Worst case scenario, I have to replace a hard drive, flash the hard drive, put a new OS in, I'm good to go. And to your average person, maybe they're not ready for that. And so that's I still have a lot of reservations. I'm excited to see it. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited to see it, but I want to see how it runs and how it works, and touch one and feel one. I also want to know what the distribution on this is going to be. That's really kind of, I think, where the rubber hits the road for me, is when I sit and think about it is Nintendo can pick up a phone and talk to every Best Buy, every Target, every Walmart and say, hey, we came out with a new product. We'd like to put it in your store. No one's going to say no to them. But retail space is so important. I don't know what's going to happen when Valve calls up Best Buy, or Valve calls up Target, or Valve calls up Walmart and says, hey, we have this new product. Yeah, you may not know who we were. We made video games, but we made this. And I don't know how well the distribution is going to be, because if it comes into the world of you have to order it online, which isn't really a problem, but now you have wait time, not instant gratification. Like I said, I want to be able to walk in somewhere, touch one, feel it, and just feel how it feels. And then I'll decide if I'm going to purchase one.
Yeah. Another thing too is like, it's just in this day and age with, COVID pandemic and like resellers. I hate resellers with a passion. Like, if you're a reseller, you're going to hell. And what I mean by reseller is like taking a current product, not something that's old, and then selling it for a profit. I mean, taking a current product, buying all of it up, and then selling it for more money to try and get a profit. I mean, there's difference between like sellers who's like, I had this like vintage Pokemon card, I kept it in good condition, I kept it in the box, and I'm going to resell it for double what it's worth. But I'm talking about like, because that's the problem. Like Sony, they just announced they sold 10 million PS5 units, and then
Where?
they said this is, they said that this is the quickest selling console, of all their consoles. And I said, and I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, that's because all these resellers are, are generating bots, and then having them buy it online and try to sell for a profit. But Valve, they're smart and they're acknowledging that problem. And then they said the only way you can pre-order it is if you have a Steam account and have had made a purchase in the past before. So like all these people, all these resellers creating Steam accounts, be like, oh yeah, I'll create one right now. They'll be like, you can't get one. And that's the thing too, is you brought up the retail space, is like, yeah, they always have like GameStop or like Target, Best Buy, they'll always have one on display. It's like, yeah, I want that too. And that's still going to be hard in a COVID world because, that's how you spread germs.
Yeah, good point. A good point. And it's funny, as you said, 10 million units, and resellers. Everybody I know that has a PS5 paid over $1,000 for them because they bought it from HyperX, or they bought it from whatever, all these places,
StockX, yeah.
and it's StockX, and it's like, it's ridiculous to me that I don't know. It blows my mind. I know they're coming out. We talked about it. They're coming out with a new chip. Supposed to be able to mass produce these. They're changing the chipset, so they're going to have more of them come out. But I'm kind of disappointed with the whole Sony thing, and it's interesting to see the Steam Deck. Like I say, I don't know, and it's weird. It's like I need to see I guess I need to see Marcus touch one because he's like my size.
Yeah.
I need because if Marcus is he's as tall as me, and he's like my hands are big,
Yeah.
and so is it his. So then maybe I'll get the ratio of how it is. But like the person I saw had this 5'5" female holding one, and I'm like, that thing looks huge. It looks huge. So it's like, but it could just be so of the person sitting there, holding it, and it's kind of it's like, shoot, and she's holding a laptop. And it just so I have to see it. I mean, I'm excited. Again, I'm disappointed with the size. Now, I could be totally talking smack, and maybe it'll be a situation, the compression rate, they just compress differently, and maybe that's fine, but all I know is that I have a 1 terabyte on the PlayStation, and every time they come out with a Modern Warfare update, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm screwed.
Exactly.
Because it just kills it. So I don't know, but I did hear something really cool, Brune. So I was doing my weekly go through with Linus, and I saw this video, and it was a very interesting video. What would you say if I said to you, I can sell you a laptop, and you'll have a choice. You can either build it yourself, or they'll build it for you, but it's 100% upgradable. Every part of it is upgradable. So now, 2-3 years from now, you don't have to go out and buy a new laptop. You might just have to go out and buy a new processor. What do you think of that idea?
I think that sounds great.
So it's coming. So this company started up, and so Linus did the company. I'm going to give them a shout out. They're called Framework, and they were the first company that really kind of thought about this. So again, being a little bit older, what really revolutionized computers at one point was Gateway and Dell. And what they did was they did direct to home. They didn't have presence in stores, so they did direct to home, and they cut out a lot of the pricing because they didn't have to sell it in retail space. So these people are going direct to buy. And the company is started by a guy who worked for Apple, a guy who worked for, I think it was AMD, and an Intel guy. And they said they really believe in your right to repair. They think the right to repair is a real situation, and they think it's really kind of cool. And so they started a company that this laptop, you can upgrade every piece in the laptop with the exception of the motherboard. Okay? Because that is proprietary. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with small components like that, you really can't change those around because that's kind of the hard soldered point. But the most amazing thing about this is I could hand you this laptop right now, Brunner, and you have probably about 5% knowledge of how to put a computer together, and I could walk you through how to put that computer together over the phone. They used colored screws. For each component, it's green, blue, yellow, the screw colors so you know what screw goes where, as opposed to making a guess. Do you know how smart they were? They even put extra screws in the chassis in case you lose a screw. Because no matter what, anytime you crack open a case, you're going to lose a screw. If you flip that laptop over to open up the case, there's only 5 screws hold that thing together, which is phenomenal. If I flip...
I was going to say, and, it not only does it come with the screwdriver, but aren't all the screws the same on every single piece that's screwed
They're
down?
all the same torque screw as opposed to 5 different types of torques. Now, I don't care because I got the 5 torques. I got the iFixit kit that I paid $150 for. So I have every screw you'd ever imagine, but I don't need it. They send me the screwdriver. It's just a T, whatever it is, torque, and you just take it out. The other thing that's incredible with it is you can change the color of the bezel. You can change the color of the keyboard. They had this really cool feature when Linus showed it. You can actually put a clear keyboard on with no numbers or letters on the keys. It's just white clear, which I thought was kind of cool. That's a little bit geeky for me, but it was kind of cool. And
you like that? You like the clear
I
keyboard?
do.
I don't think I
do
could
because
live
I'm
with,
kind of
just because I'm an idiot. I don't think I could live with one.
I never look at a keyboard when I type. So, I mean, I've been doing it a long time. So to me, it's like, to me, I thought it was just kind of cool. Again, it just brings the geek out of me that it's kind of a geeky thing, But the coolest thing that it did is when you flip the laptop over, it has open slots on the PCMI and slots. You slide these little things in, and they look like almost, for what I've seen, they probably look about 2.5 inches wide by 4 inches. And they're little slot cards that you slide in the slot. You can make them USB-C. You can make them a headphone jack. You can make them anything you want to be, including 1 terabyte external memory. The thing was phenomenal. Like Linus mentioned it. It's kind of funny. I have the same peculiar thing that he does. I hate USBs on my right-hand side of my keyboard. I will never use a USB, and they always seem to put my USB on the right-hand side of the keyboard. So, like, I bought a new Lenovo laptop probably about 6 months ago. And it's a great laptop, but it's USB-C primarily, and there's one USB standard on there. And it's on the right-hand side. I ended up going out and buying all new cords, all new adapters, so I could plug things on the left because I hate anything on the right because it's where my mouse sits. And it's just kind of funny is over here, I would just be able to go bloop and plug it in on the other side with a slot. So I thought that was pretty cool. Very customizable. They start around $9.99. So they're starting around $9.99, which I thought was reasonable. You can actually get one with $100 deposit. And then you can, you'll pay for it when it comes due. And they're basically starting to ship, I think, in September. I'm going to be honest. I ordered mine already.
You did.
I did. So my whole rig in everything, I think I was around $1,600. I put $100 down, and I'm supposed to get mine in the beginning of October. Nice. So once I get it, we'll have to do another review of it, and I'll play with it and kind of show you. But to me, I think the size of it. Oh my God, the size of these things. They're only less than 16 millimeters thick, and they only weigh 1.3 kilograms. Okay, it's basically like using a MacBook Air. Yeah, they got a 13-inch screen, which is exactly what I want for a laptop. I don't like all my laptops are 13 inches. You can cut anything from an i5 to an i7 processor in there. The storage is anywhere from a 256 to a 1 terabyte. You can get. I put 32 gigabytes of RAM. There's 32 gigabytes of memory going to be in the system that I ordered. Nice. I chose to build it yourself because you can have them build it for you, or you can build it yourself. I wanted the experience of building it myself, so I said I'll build it myself. Shit, it literally is color coded, and I've never built a laptop before. I made I don't know how many rigs I've put together. So I thought it'd be really cool to like actually build a laptop because I've never done it. So I am very excited about this product. Again, Framework is the name of the company. And their website is framework.com. And I think that this could change laptops across the board. I honestly believe it could change laptops across the board. The screen on it, from what I read, this display is 400 nits. Okay, it's a 2256 by 1504. So you're getting true HD. It's got a 1080p camera on it. All right, you're not dealing with super high def camera, but that was a whole other thing that was kind of cool. What Linus talked about is my laptop now. I have a camera shutter on it, so I can shut it off and have a privacy on my camera.
Mhm.
The microphone on this one also has that ability. You can shut the microphone off so it won't be able to hear you. But
And
that's for your conspiracy theorist people.
yeah, can you change? I think I saw in the Linus video that you can change the camera, right? You have the
You
option
can.
to
You
upgrade it.
can. From what I saw is so literally it's like I think it was 4 screws hold the screen in. From what I
Mhm.
saw, again, Linus, I just seen one video of it, and four screws hold it in. You could take the display off, and literally you just pop out the little connector, and you can change your camera.
Yeah. And it's a
So it
pretty
was pretty
solid
cool.
camera too. Like in the Linus video, like it looked pretty good, especially for a web laptop camera, and it sounded okay too. And I loved that you could take off, the bezel, the screen bezel, and then, like put your own, or if you want to get creative, like spray paint whatever bezel you want, and it's held on with magnets.
I bet you eventually what I'm going to see is how many they get in hands of people. Okay, because that's the big thing. Is this is a startup, so hopefully they're going to have the longevity of this because they're going to rely on people that are, hey, I want to do direct buy. There's enough of us people out there that say I want the upgradability of it. As you know, Brunner, we've known each other a while. I go through a laptop I burn through them. It just seems like because I use them for work, I use them for everything. It seems like I go through one about once every year and a half, 2 years. So I like the idea of that. The other thing that Linus hit the nail on the head for that I thought was phenomenal. If I reach over right now, just the viewers can't see it, and I hold up my keys, I have a 1 terabyte jump drive everywhere I go. Because I am a jump drive guy. I just always back up stuff on my jump drive. He brought up a whole great point. Those little cartridges, I don't know what they're calling them. I'm going to call them cartridges or slots. I can throw 3 or 4 of those in my laptop bag, and I can just change them on the fly. So if I need a Cat 5 connector, pop, I have a Cat 5 connector. If I need to have, a SD reader, I could have it as be an SD reader. I could have it be a USB-C. I could have it be a USB 3.2. I could have it be a Firebolt. I could have it be, more memory. To me, the idea was like, this is just amazing. And the possibilities seem endless of what you could do with it. I think it's a really neat idea, and I'm glad to support them. And if they had a Kickstarter, I'd say, hey, I'll throw some money into it because I think it's a really, really kind of neat idea that they're changing the whole world of how laptops are done. And maybe that'll finally get rid of the people and say, well, we have to solder everything together. And I mean, even the laptop I have now, I'm trying to pick it up right now. Yeah, I can't even upgrade the memory. It's a soldered on memory. I have 16 gigs of memory on this one. The laptop I had before, I had an IBM ThinkPad. That literally funny story about that. I literally ran it over with my car one day, and all I had to do was change the screen, and it still worked. Is that I could take the back off and I could put new memory sticks in. So at least you still could upgrade the memory. And the more these thinner computers are getting away from that, and I think it's making laptops throwaway, which is kind of sad because they seem to be getting more expensive. And you're throwing them away like in a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. Just think about like the Mac users. I mean, gosh, those things are super expensive. That's what you use.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're very expensive. If Mac came
Mhm.
up with a concept like this, maybe That would be really good too, I think, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think Mac will ever do that. And another thing I wanted to bring up was, uh, when you take off the back part, like the instructions are QR codes. So if you want to know,
They are.
like what to do, like you just search, you just use the QR code. But hopefully the company, I wish them success because it's such a brilliant idea, and hopefully everything can go, as according to plan for them. But I was thinking about this, and I said, like, if they ever find success, is what they should do is like make a computer for like something you can do with your child, like your child's first computer, so you
Yes.
can teach them. So I mean, like, so like maybe it could come with like a colorful instruction booklet where it's like a little more detail, so that you and your kid can put a computer together, so you can teach them
So
about computers.
I I think that's a grand idea. I think that for years I've been trying to get Jack to build a rig with me, and he has no interest in doing it. And it's hilarious to me as I sit there and I sit and I watch a lot of videos about guys putting together computers or people putting together computers because some of them have women in it. I don't want to discriminate. And if I said to you, "Hey Brunner, I'm going to send you all the components. I want you to build a rig." I could just guarantee the minute that showed up on your doorstep, you'd be like, "What in the heck do I do now?"
Exactly.
And then the funny part about it is, literally, there's only about 6 pieces you really got to worry about in a PC, in a tower. I mean, it's pretty easy. Motherboard, CPU, GPU, memory, processor, done. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you got to have some coolant. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's not really complex. And once you do your first rig, it's actually really easy. But the intriguing part to me about this framework computer is I've never done that on a laptop. I've taken laptops apart. So like the screen that I told you that I ran over, I replaced that screen. So one thing I don't have fear of is I'll rip apart anything, and I'm pretty good about putting anything back together. I usually will videotape me, like I'll just record with my camera the disassembly, and then I'll watch it in reverse and put it back. But the other funny thing you brought up with those Q codes, I thought was hilarious, is when they showed the inside of it, when they cracked the case and they showed the inside. Remember, it said the name of everybody that worked there, and it said, "Hey, and now we're hiring."
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
I thought that was so cool because it reminded me of like how Apple started out.
Yeah.
That would be like an Apple thing, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
And it just to me is like, I wish him well. I think it's a grand idea. I think that I cannot think of a better idea. The whole way when I think about technology, is who today is breaking new ground and doing something that no one else is doing and advancing the industry.
Yeah.
And I know I've took tours in a previous life. I worked for a large electronics company, and I've taken tours. I've been to AMD and I've been to Intel, and I know that those chipsets are made 2-3 years in advance. They've already got chipsets, and they got what they're selling now is they're just trying to make the money off the ones that they've already invented because they've already got something better. I'm not talking that technology. I'm not talking the fact of, oh, we went from a 4K to an 8K TV. That's not that big. A TV is a TV. To be perfectly honest with us, if we didn't have 4K TVs and we still were looking at 720, we wouldn't know the difference, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But when you think about technology of something, putting this in someone's hands and saying, you can build this and personalize it however you want, that's what makes Legos one of the greatest toys in the world. If I drop a pile of Legos in front of you, Brunner, you're going to make something totally different than what I'm going to make. And now you can do that with your laptop.
Mhm.
You can configure this exactly how Brunner wants his laptop. Maybe Brunner likes his USB on the right. Maybe he's that weird guy and wants it on the right. When all of us really want it on the left. So I think it's a grand idea, and I think it's gonna go well. I hope it's gonna be people like me and Linus and other people that are like in the tech world that like the idea of customizable, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it, and I can't wait till mine shows up.
Yeah. And I'm so glad, like, parts are interchangeable. Because one time, like you said, like, you ran over your laptop and all you do is replace the screen. I had, one time, we had this, like, Acer laptop. And we're like, oh, it's not working.
Ooh.
We're going to toss it out. And so, like, we gave it to this guy. And he's like, no, all you just got to do is, it needs a new battery. That's it. And put like $20 battery. He's like $20 worth for just putting a battery in, of
And
connecting it. And then, but I was
that
thinking,
was
I'm like,
another upgradable.
mhm,
That was another upgradable piece you could do on the battery if you wanted longer.
yeah. And, I'm just thinking Mac will never do that. Apple will never do that because, like, what? It's going to be 200, 150, 200 for a new battery. And then it's like, well, if you want a professional install, you got to take it to the Apple store. And then that's going to cost another $200, $300. So that's $400 when you could just, like, the current, you know, I bought a MacBook Pro and I paid for an upgraded SSD, paid for upgraded memory. I got on eBay for $500. And then so, like, like, if you had to fix, your laptop, a Mac laptop, like, it's probably like for that money you could just buy another one. Where this, the framework, it's going to be cheap and it's going to be easy to replace the battery. And not only that, it's going to probably teach you how to replace the battery. Although, most batteries and laptops are connected, but, like, what pieces are, what you basically kind of know what to
Well,
do.
and what's funny now is like the thin bezeled laptops. So I
Mhm.
don't know your MacBook. Which MacBook do you have?
I have a MacBook Pro.
Okay. You cannot take the battery off that.
Mhm.
That's a built-in battery. So my Lenovo, the new Lenovo I have, is a built-in battery. You can't take the battery off. So I personally believe that's where companies are trying to mess with you. And that's the profit in it. So, like, I always think back to the story of my son's first phone. We bought him an iPhone, whatever. I think it was a 7 or an 8, whatever the hey it was when he got his phone. And he had it and he dropped it. Okay, he was a kid. He dropped a phone. It is what it is. So I take it to the Apple store and I say, hey, I'd like to get the screen replaced on this. Guy literally looks me in the eye and says, oh, that'll be blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, I'll just buy a new phone.
Yeah.
And so I think that Apple makes their repairs so expensive because then what in turn is they get two things out of it. One is they either get massive profit because you're going to be foolish enough to pay for the repair, or two is they get to report that they had another sale. And their whole thing is sales of units sold. So if you look at Apple, they always talk about how many units we sold, how many iPhones we sold. Well, okay, oh, we sell more iPhones. Da, 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 da. Well, what they did also is they also started eliminating lines. So do you know why? Do you know why my son got that first iPhone?
Why?
Because I couldn't find an iPod Touch. What I wanted was an iPod Touch. He didn't need a phone.
Oh, yeah.
He just needed an iPod that he could watch videos on, et cetera, so forth. And you know what I'm saying? And we couldn't find one, so I said, okay, I'm going to buy an iPhone. And that's how he ended up with an iPhone. And it's just when I look back at it, that's kind of Apple's thing is I think they still sell iPods, if I'm not mistaken, but I think they only sell like a shuffle. They don't sell like the
Yeah.
the
I think they've
iPod,
gotten
iPod.
completely rid of the touch. Because
And
yeah, because they knew they're like people are gonna just use the touch than the iPhone.
yeah, because you could message with it, you could do everything with it as long as you're on Wi-Fi. You couldn't make calls, but and then now they're doing the same thing with Line. Like, so you go into an Apple store. So many moons ago, I was an Apple guy,
Mhm.
and used to be you could go in and get very customizable apples. So we're talking 2C World, et cetera, so forth. So then they came out with the iMacs and the Mac Pros and et cetera, so forth. I don't know who and their brother is buying a Mac Pro right now. Last one I saw that they came out with when like Marquez was putting his together and iJustine was talking about hers. I don't think Linus ever got one because Apple don't like him. But these people were like talking about him, and it was like they were talking about $20,000 rigs. And when I sit and think about that, I'm like, 20 grand is not your average person. And so now they're changing their laptops around, they're changing everything around. I don't know. Apple, I think, is coming into a weird time. They don't have the number one share in phones anymore. Samsung actually took that out. So we'll see. Are you happy with your MacBook?
I am. Like, I didn't want anything fancy. I didn't want, like, I'm glad I had you to compare specs. Like, I just wanted, I'm just simple. I just want a lot of memory. 8 gigs of RAM is fine. I don't need no 32 or 64 or anything crazy. Eight's
32
fine
is
with
about as
me.
big as you can get in a laptop.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That just shows you how little I know. But um I just because I'm like, I just need something for school. I just
Yeah.
need something that's not gonna, you know, go kaput on me
Right.
when I'm doing my schoolwork. And then this was fine. It's got SSD, 256 gigabytes, 8 gigs of RAM. I'm like, sounds good. I'll take it. $500. I'll take it.
It's funny too, is like hard drives is like I think I'm running right now in this unit right now. I think I'm running, let me tell you exactly. I'll look over here. This unit that I'm using right now, I'm running I think 256. Oh no, it's a 500 gig. So I have half a terabyte. And with cloud-based storage now, I think I only have 110 gigs on board with this, and a couple of those are games that I'm actually running. And so for you, like I think about like that you said you had 256, but if you use the iCloud for most of your stuff, you don't need it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
all your pictures get backed up to, the cloud, all this, et cetera,
Yeah,
so
all my
forth.
pictures on my phone. Yeah, all the pictures are here get sent to my phone, which is on the iCloud. So like the only thing that takes up memory is actual whatever things on my desktop. That's not on my phone.
And so that's another thing that
You
concerns me
know?
about that Steam Deck because they said they weren't using cloud-based storage; it was direct storage. And so the numbers they're showing, I'm still concerned about the size. So I don't think if I run out and buy one, I'm not going to buy that $399 one. I'd have to buy something
Oh yeah.
bigger.
You can't.
Um,
Yeah, you can't play anything on there. And then especially too, I just want to bring up real quick. I bought the VR, the Oculus Quest 2,
oh yeah,
and because I had the PlayStation VR. PlayStation VR was good because of the exclusives it has, like LA Noir. Like I don't think you can get that on Oculus. I'm not sure. I have to double check. But you know, like the thing what I hate about the PlayStation was the wires. The wires were the most annoying thing, and the tracking. Like the tracking camera could easily lose you, and I'm like, and it just got frustrating. And then so, like so I just stopped using it. I'm like, I'm done. And then so like I always wanted an Oculus Quest, and then the 2 came out. Like, yeah, this is smaller, it's more portable, and like the tracking, it just uses light as tracking. So like all you have to do is just create a little perimeter for what area you're using, and if you have like a Google Chromecast, you can cast your game to like if you have friends over or like family, and then they could see what you're seeing. So I'm like, yes, perfect. And I bought the base six. They have two models: a base 64 gigs and one that's 256 gigs for like $150 more. And then so I'm like, the like VR games that I had, they were small. So I'm like, I think I'll be okay. And yeah, so I have like four games on there, like 500 megabits, 2.9 gigs. And then I got one game, the Walking Dead VR game, is 24 gigs.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And not only that, you have whatever memory the Oculus needs to be stored to have. So that's already chipped away. And you can't even upgrade it too.
So your
You
Oculus
can't add
2,
extra memory.
is that the one where you put like little cameras in the corners of the room that you're using?
No,
Which one is that?
no. It's this one right here.
Okay. So I seen one, I think it was when they did the Intel upgrades on Linus. Remember Anthony got one? And they had like these little cameras up in the corners of the room, and that was the range of the VR. So they were picking it up like they were setting up the VR, and I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, that's probably my next purchase. At some point, I'd like to maybe get a VR. I don't know. I'm kind of lazy. I like to sit in one spot.
Because you can do that. You can like literally sit down. You can configure it to sit down. But if you are looking to buy a VR, I highly recommend this. Just buy the 256 gig version
Yeah.
because this is so much
I think
fun.
Google has one too, don't they? Doesn't Google also do a VR of some sort, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, you can't run anything on that 64 gigabytes of storage on the Steam Deck. And then, like they said, you could upgrade it. You could stick an SD card in there.
Yeah,
It
but
has
I think that
SD card slot.
you can't ever add internal though. That's the only thing is like
Yeah,
to me is like I'd rather have more internal memory and not have to rely on external. Because
yeah.
SD cards are historically unreliable. Let's just put it that way. They're historically unreliable. They can get corrupted very easily. Um, they get
Mhm.
scratched, they get whatever. You throw it in your pocket with some change, and next thing you know, you messed it up, and it is what it is. Um,
Yeah.
so I, but I think that you know, I guess the takeaway from this is I'm really glad that some companies are forward thinking, that we're not just settling
Mhm.
on what we have, that these companies are thinking, okay, one, maybe portables are coming back. Two, hey, let's upgrade a laptop. I think I'm glad they're thinking.
When I think, between, because the biggest comparison that the Steam Deck getting is Nintendo Switch. And in my opinion, if somebody asked me, hey, I want a portable handheld, you know, console, and they said, what should I get? I would say, get the Steam Deck.
Really?
Because, yeah, because,
Okay.
I feel the Switch's, internal hardware was already old when it first came out.
Okay.
And not only that, like a more like wider games on Steam, because like indie games, like sometimes like indie games will be the best fun. Like especially like back in the day, I used to watch like these YouTubers. They play these games, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so much fun. I'm like, is it on Xbox? No. Is it on PlayStation? No. Is it on Nintendo? No. So I would say like definitely, well, the Steam Deck hasn't came out yet, so if it's okay, if there's no issues, I'd be like, yeah, get a Steam Deck compared to, you know something a little more pricey with games. Like Nintendo's exclusive games like rarely go on sale. Like Mario will hardly ever go on sale
But I
compared
think
to like a mainstream game,
I think
you
the
know?
whole point though is like kind of how I said it was kind of interesting is that people are what's the word I want to use? I keep going back to PC gamers are the hardcore of the hardcore,
Mhm.
but they all have a special spot in their heart for Mario. So
Yeah.
they're all gonna be like, to me, I've tried to get a Switch. I don't know how many times. I can't find one. I want the classic Switch with the red and blue,
I haven't
you know.
yeah, you can take this one. I haven't put this thing up in months.
And literally I've wanted one and I can't find them. During the whole pandemic I wanted one. And I still want one. And it's like and to me, I just think even if it was just sitting on my shelf, it's Nintendo. And I
Yeah.
think that's the difference is like, again, I just keep coming to it. I could use my laptop. I could go order a Razer laptop. I could go order an Omen laptop. I could go order, an Alienware. And those are all going to be far superior than the Steam Deck. So why wouldn't I just go order a 13-inch 4K screen, crazy loaded up laptop? Granted, I'm going to spend more than $600. That's fact. But it's going to work so much better. You know what I'm saying? So to me, is I kind of sit there and say, I don't know. I have to see one. I have to see one. When I saw it sitting in that little 5'5" girl's hands, it just looks behemoth. It just looks huge to me. And that's
Yeah.
not what I want. I don't want. I'd rather sit with my mechanical keyboard and just go and game with that. But and hook it up to a 70-inch monitor. So, but we'll see.
Yeah. One last thing I would like to add is with the Steam Deck is you can have mods on your games,
Yeah, I said that
which it
earlier.
works with Steam
Yeah.
Workshop or
It-
other third-party mods, that's something I always wanted to do because like mod creators for dudes who work in their room or at home, like they do much more effort than the actual company who makes this.
Oh yeah, by far.
I'll give an example. Yeah. Battlefront 2. I get these like TikToks recommended to me of like dudes who post Battlefront 2 mods. And then he's like, here's, like, here's like Padawan Anakin from episode 2. Or here's like, Darth Vader missing the helmet. Or here's, like, and then he'll put like he's like, here's the Mandalorian. Here's Mace Windu. Here's this other Jedi. Or here's like, fan art ones where it's like, oh, here's Dark Side, Luke. Here's
Oh,
here's
so you're bringing
Dark
out.
Side Anakin. Yeah, Dark Side Anakin from episode 3 with the orange eyes.
So you're bringing out all the good mods, and
And
you're
I'm
forgetting about the Autobots and the friggin' headshot autos and.
oh yeah, if you want, there was Master Chief and whatever, and I'm like, you can't do that on no Nintendo Switch. And like another game too, like Grand Theft Auto 5, like a game I would like wanted to mod for a long time because people will put like the Flash mod or they'll have like a Superman mod, and then and then the other thing that sucks too is like Grand Theft Auto 5 story mode, like, and the story mode, like if you play it right, you can be a billionaire in the game. And then GTA, like Grand Theft Auto Online, they release all these, like they released a DeLorean, they released the Batmobile, and then it's like, but you can't get that in the regular story mode, but it's in the game, so you can so like you can bring up the mod menu, and this you can drive around without even have to pay a cent for it. So I'm like, I want to do that,
It's gonna be
and
a
then
free
they have
game
like
on GTA 5 online. It's gonna be free in November on Sony Plus.
And then, but like, and that thing too, because I have like Steam notifications. Like, I got a Steam notification saying, like, hey, it was a $60 game, but now it's like $20. Will Mario ever be $20? Will Mario Kart 8 ever be $20? No.
Yeah.
Will Super Smash Bros. Ever be $20? No.
No,
But these big 30-part games will.
But too, is like I look at it and say, one, my question is, why are you getting Steam notifications when you don't even play games on a PC?
Because a long time ago I had this shitty laptop that could run decent games, and then so like I put it on my Steam wish list.
Oh,
It was
okay.
GTA
Okay.
5 because
Okay.
I'm gonna keep this, and then when I get a PC, I'm like I'm gonna buy it, and then that was like 3 years ago.
I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting. Yeah. But I think that covers pretty much everything.
Thank you to our listeners for listening to another episode, and we will see you
Thank you.
guys in the next episode.